Kakadosh Baruch Hu, we're just continuing with Siman Samich Aleph, the halachot of Amidah Legoy during Ben HaShemashot. We brought down yesterday that you're allowed to tell a goy during the time of twilight in order to do any type of a melacha, even doraita, as long as there's going to be a necessity for, usually we're talking about a mitzvah or tzorech gadol that a person really needs. So one of them he brings down over here, one of the examples is that a person is allowed to actually tell a goy during Ben HaShemashot to light a candle because it's tzorech mitzvah. He says, not only we're talking about a candle for Seudat Shabbat, which means, for example, let's say a person needed light for the Seudah, but even if it's going to be a Ner Neshama for Lilun Nishmat, because since a person is very emotionally attached to it, it's considered Tzorech Gadol, and therefore if a person forgot to light a Ner Neshama, and then all of a sudden now it's after Shekiyah, he can't light it himself, so what can he do? He could come and he could get a goy in order to come and to light it. The same halacha would apply if somebody forgot in a bedroom, and they needed the light in the bedroom for whatever purpose it is. Again, they're allowed to come and they're allowed to tell the goy in order to do it. So all these halachot are just going to be different halachot about permitting when it's going to be for necessity. The last halakha that we'll mention is a very interesting one, which is going to be called Shvut the Shvut beben HaShemashot. We know that you're not allowed to tell a goy to do a melacha doraita on Shabbat. That's called Shvut. Shvut means that it's going to be one Isur D'Rabbanan, which means that you're not allowed to come and tell a goy to do a melacha doraita. What happens when it's Shvut the Shvut, which means that it's going to be that you're telling a goy to do a melacha, but it's not a melacha doraita. It's also D'Rabbanan. And that's why it's called Shvut the Shvut. It's actually two different D'Rabbanans. So what happens is that we know that on Shabbat in itself, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to tell a goy to do for Shvut the Shvut for Tzorech Mitzvah. Here we're talking about Shvut the Shvut. Are you allowed to do it through a goy, even if it's not going to be for a mitzvah or for any other case whatsoever? So he comes and he says over here that if on Shabbat you're allowed to do Shvut the Shvut for mitzvah, here you're allowed to do Shvut the Shvut even if it's not for a mitzvah. For no reason. That means it's not going to be for a mitzvah. So what you're allowed to do now is that you're allowed to come and tell a goy to do a melachat d'Rabbanan, which means you're not doing something which is biblically prohibited. It's only the Rabbanan, you're allowed to tell him to do it during the twilight, during Ben HaShemashot, and even though there's no mitzvah done. Because if there was a mitzvah, so you could even do it on Shabbat itself. Here we're talking about that there's no mitzvah. Why are you telling him to do it for whatever necessity? But it's not a real necessity that you really need. So here you're allowed to come and you're allowed to do it without any problem whatsoever. So again, one more time, to do it during Ben HaShemashot, you're allowed to come and tell a goy to do a melachat doraita when it's a mitzvah. And if it's not going to be a mitzvah, you would be able to tell him to do a melachat d'Rabbanan if it's not going to be a mitzvah, which is called Shvut to Shvut during Ben HaShemashot.